Oh my goodness. Hello and welcome to the Eurovision For Real podcast. I'm your host, Alesia Michelle. And, I'm going to try and do this episode, with the best of spirits because I've basically been awoken from my vacation slumber to talk about Eurovision, but to talk about it because we have the results of an investigation. We have our executive supervisor, Martin Osterdahl, is apparently going to be staying in his role. We've had Norway already confirmed that they're showing up to the party for 2025. We've got the core team set up. There's a lot going on, and I'm going to be excited to break it all down with you. But of course, it's me, so we got to hit that funky theme song.
Eurovision for real with Alesia Michelle.
Oh my goodness. So to break all of this down, I am not alone and I am joined by Lily from EurovisionFam.com. If you haven't been there, that's EurovisionFam.com. Okay, Lily, how are we processing this? Because I want this podcast, because this is the Eurovision For Real podcast. And I think we've already established last year at Eurovision was very dramatic. We had a contestant that was basically disqualified and unable to perform at the grand final. That was Joost, who was representing the Netherlands. We had the Israel of it all, which is what I was calling it, the Israel of it all. It was an international sort of I would say, uproar over Israel's participation. We had contestants that were facing an unprecedented amount of, I would say, online bullying from, and I would say, I don't want to say from both sides, but I think all the contestants were kind of experiencing this really unprecedented amount of hate on the internet and some of it in the press. So, not just on the internet, some of it manifesting in real life. So we got to break this down because there's so much news. And again, this is the Eurovision For Real podcast. If you love the Eurovision Song Contest and you aren't following this podcast, what are you waiting for? Okay, plug over. So, Lily, I just want to kick off and just say, with all of the recent news, and we're gonna get into it bit by bit, but I just want a little bit of a mood check with where you're at and how you're feeling about what you're hearing and whatnot. So I'm gonna kick it off there.
Yeah, honestly, I'm feeling confused about everything I'm hearing. I'm just like not sure because some of these rules and like the changes they made up with like staffing seem a little odd. I need to like think about it more and little sit with it a little more. But I'm also still low key reeling from the chaos that was May, being completely transparent. So I'm like a little like, we'll see what happens by September. But right now, I'm just a little like kind of iffy about everything going on.
Yeah, so I will tell you where I'm at mood wise. I just I wanted to really live in the land of optimism, but I will say cynicism is creeping in right now and just an overall level of uncertainty because it's like, okay, what do y'all want to do with this thing? Kind of energy. And I want to believe that it's like you all love this, you all care for this, and I want to use that word care for this. So you're going to be thinking best interest. And there's not a whole lot that has been solidified. So I'm still able to slightly live. I'm mostly in the land of optimism, but the land of cynicism is creeping in. So let's break this down. So in this investigation, and obviously we don't have all the full results of this, but some of the conclusions that came out of this, review was that they're now thinking about, I think, restructuring, and what we'd call it at my job is like a reorg. So sort of figuring out your teams within. And so they said like there's three thematic areas. So the areas are so it's governance and participation. So that's going to be the rules, That's going to be, kind of, I think, assessing like, do you all have it together to where you're even eligible? Are the songs together? Is this artist like properly vetted, et cetera, et cetera. So I think there's some of that that's like the business, the on paper piece. The next piece is safety and risk management. And I shouldn't say that this is like a reorg. I think these are the areas where they're like, okay, this is where we need to like sort of focus our energy and figure out how we improve in these areas. So the next piece is safety and risk management. I have said it, I think, on this podcast, and I've definitely said it on my YouTube channel, that, ever since we lived a post 9/11 world, every single world event had increased security measures and whatnot. So it's like, duh, Eurovision would have that. But it did seem, and I think it does seem, that some of those measures that the EBU would take were slightly, I would say, maybe not as sophisticated as an Olympic level, as a FIFA, World Cup level. So I think that makes sense. And then the next piece is audience engagement, fans, and media. So looking at that, I'm like, okay, there's that sounds about right to me. If those are the buckets that we feel like we need to think of how we can best improve in these areas. And so then the other piece of that was, yeah. So the other piece of that was that now there's this conversation around additional roles that were going to be created. And I don't want to misspeak, but apparently they're going to have someone who is now, so the new positions, I guess, the ideas are there's going to be someone who is now sort of above Martin. So instead of the executive supervisor kind of holding this really, really large portfolio of responsibilities, they're now going to have someone above that supervisor. Is that your understanding of it, Lily?
Yeah, I think that's what I was reading and getting from what I had read. Um, and like I guess maybe that's just someone who's like in charge of things, who's like completely behind the scenes, maybe, and doesn't have like a public face. But yeah, I think that's what I'm understanding from when I read the article.
Okay, yeah. And then the other piece was they're going to have someone, so there's a new role also being created of someone who's just sort of like, I'd say, the brand manager, which oddly enough to me, I was kind of like, y'all didn't already have a role, or like that wasn't already something. Again, these things that become revealed that are like, okay, so there was probably a little lack of staffing support. And I think I said this, that I was just like, I understand, and I'm not out here trying to fire people per se. Like, I cannot fire you. I'm not really one for taking money out of people's pockets. That feels a little bit aggressive. But I did say that I was like, but we need to be looking at some of these resumes, because some of these people have proven themselves to not be ready for prime time. We need to be hiring some people who maybe have like Oscars or BAFTA experience. We need to be hiring some people that, have some Olympic experience, some people who are used to maybe large scale international facing events. And it's shocking that the EBU and Eurovision didn't already have something like that put together. I mean, because duh, like this was already going to be, an international undertaking. But I guess, the scale, and I think this is the key piece, the scale with which Eurovision has in fact grown at this point, it's clear that we needed more, and there needed to be probably some other folks joining the team, which that I think is good. I think that is overall a good thing, Lily.
Yeah, definitely, because it's gonna kind of spread out the responsibilities amongst more people so people can get a better focus on what they should be doing specifically rather than piling it onto such a small group where, little details can slip through the cracks and things like that. Honestly, I am surprised that given that this is a almost 70-year-old competition, that's international and has been televised for so long, that it took this long for some of these like kind of positions to be created and these roles to really be filled.
Yeah, so let's dig a little bit deeper into this new role. So the new role, this is what they've said. We've created a new role of ESC Director, which will report to the EBU Deputy Director General and Media Director. This will streamline the executive supervisor's responsibilities to focus on the actual production of the show, the heads of delegations, and the membership building, and then also the day-to-day production issues. And then it says the ESC director will oversee the work of the existing executive supervisor, and then they're going to have this other role, which is, and I guess this is the official title, head of ESC brand and commercial. So, I mean, I like these new roles. I really, really do. I'm gonna just say the quiet part out loud. I am surprised that Martin Osterdahl still has a job.
Yeah.
And I am surprised that he would not have even removed himself. Now, I don't know what the salaries are looking like, okay? And I know Europe is expensive. So, perhaps, the check was just too good that he was like, even if I have to be booed at and looked at in a negative light, I'm sleeping good with my AC, my heat in the wintertime, and having good dinners at wonderful restaurants and having all the beverages that I could possibly get. But I'm telling you, if it was me, I'm a just and I don't like cursing. I really don't. But my ass would not be up in that building anymore. I would have been working out my papers to exit stage left, because at that point maybe I could find myself something. Maybe I could go work at the BAFTAs. Maybe I could go work at an Olympic organization. I don't know. It wouldn't be me. It wouldn't be
No.
me.
But then again, like, I have shame to a certain extent. So, like, even if the money's good, if I've just embarrassed myself internationally with a PR nightmare, I'd be like, oh, I need to go, like, lay low for a little while. Like, I understand things are expensive, but I'm going to assume he has a savings account. He writes little novels and things. I'm sure he gets royalties from that to pay the AC bill.
Look, I wouldn't have stayed around. But part of me not staying around isn't so much because of the Eurovision of it all. I'm talking from the work of it all, from a business perspective. If I was in his situation, and like you mentioned the adjective, well, and I mean really it could be a noun, shame. You mentioned that, and that resonates with me, but I think more so than that, I'm leaning on the word dignity. I would want to be able to leave with my dignity intact. And I just have to say, I don't know what it feels like to be in an arena of people and be booed for international television to see. And speaking of which, so let's say this. Cuz wait. So this is a quote. So reacting to this, so let's see this. During the contest there were several other, and this is Eurovoix. During the contest there were several controversies, and then reacting to this, reacting to the controversies, Osterdahl said that he didn't mind being an outlet for fans' frustrations. My focus was that we would get through these changes, that they would be spotless, and that everyone would come out of there unscathed. if an outlet for frustration and disappointment was needed, booing is perfectly fine with me. The important thing is that no one was hurt. So basically he's saying like, look, if the dramatic thing of Eurovision 2025 was like me getting booed, I'm just grateful no one got hurt. And I appreciate that. I think it's a blessing. I really, really think that it was a blessing that no one was hurt and that there weren't any violent demonstrations during Eurovision. Truly, I feel like that is a blessing. And
100%.
I will just say I struggle a little bit with that because I'm like, but did you do your very best to prevent that from happening? That's the part I'm like, I don't know.
I just feel like we got lucky this year because I was just waiting for the other shoe to drop. You know what I mean? With everything going on, as like in that chaos that occurred in May, and you're right, blessing is the right word to use there because I'm happy nothing happened, but I'm not gonna lie, I was afraid something may have happened at one point or something
Yeah.
was gonna happen.
Yeah. And I don't think that that was a completely irrational fear to have. Let's also, because we're sticking it with Martin. He talks about sort of a breakdown in communication. I know, Lily, I know I spoke to you. I have talked about this before. When you have a crisis communications moment, you have to have these channels in place. I mean, literally at my job, we call them like fire drills. We do that. Like we have fire drills of like, hey, fire drill, crazy thing just happened. And you just work through the motions of like, hey, I drafted the tweet, like it's ready to go, review. We run that. And it's just strange to me that they were just so obviously ill prepared for something like that, with something this scale, that they were so ill prepared. But let's break down the direct quote. And so it said, during the summer and autumn, we will review how the communication within the member organization works and make sure that all information gets through all the way. From the EBU to the heads of delegations to the artists, there's obviously been a breach there. I mean, do you not have like a WhatsApp group for just like HODs? Do you not have like an email list or just like a direct like SMS broadcasting system like for those folks? Maybe they do, but perhaps they weren't thinking that they would employ these tools for it. It's baffling to me. I think the gaps and the holes in the team here. I think that's what I'm sitting with. Lily?
Okay, could we go back to those new rules for a moment there?
Yeah, so essentially they're going to have a Eurovision director. And again, they're going to oversee Martin, so the
Okay.
executive supervisor, and then they're going to have a new role, which I'm assuming if that person is reporting to the executive, well, if that person is reporting to the ESC director, that this person might even be in a slightly parallel position to the executive supervisor, which is the head of ESC brand and commercial.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So that would be a person whose job is more or less brand management. Like, oh, hey, this is like the ESC official
I'm
branding and
Well, I'm thinking that this person could potentially bring in new sponsors.
okay.
I'm thinking this person would be thoughtful enough to figure out what our tiers of sponsorship are, because maybe we need to reimagine what that tier of sponsorship looks like, because perhaps you have a sponsor, let's just say Royal Caribbean was like, actually that was really great. Our Eurovision themed cruises did well. The passengers on the boats really, really loved the Eurovision themed activities and they were well
Mhm.
attended, blah, blah, blah. We would love to sponsor at a higher level, but they might go, but hold on, like, but we need our logo to be, pretty prominent
Yeah.
adjacent to Moroccan oil. So then you could go back to Moroccan oil and then say, okay, well, if you want to have the biggest logo on the, on the flyer, you're going to have to pay this much more because that's the other thing too. When you're doing sort of sponsorship requests and things like that, you should be constantly trying to bring more people in. But then for
Yeah.
the folks that you got in, you should be wanting to move them up a tier. It should not be at the same rate of sponsorship year to year. It
Yeah.
should be an increasing amount because things cost a lot of money and inflation is real. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking that this person would be sort of responsible for that, figuring out, partnerships, collaboration opportunities. This is actually, I think, a really exciting position. And I would say, a lot of people have jokes out there in the world of like, well, Alicia, you be, they'll put insert your
Yeah.
favorite Eurovision blogger. You should be executive supervisor. But I'm gonna tell you, head of brand and commercial,
That's more you.
I would eat that.
Yeah,
I
that's
would
way
eat
more
that.
you.
I would eat that.
That's
I'm just telling you, I would be having them tough meetings. I would be making sure we're getting our money. I would
mhm.
be trying to figure out what are these other avenues that we are quite frank. I mean, the Peacock partnership,
Yeah.
they are not exhausting that to its fullest potential. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I mean, we're watching Love Island, USA. We could be having a whole challenge based off of Eurovision. Why not? We could be doing
Yeah.
that. You know
It's
what I
like
mean? Like, this is the stuff to get you. Because the thing is, Eurovision is still, like, I think it is cracking. It is now no longer the niche thing that the EBU has been treating it as. Because they've been treating it like this niche thing. It's not anymore. But I do still think it is just a touch outside of the zeitgeist. And
yeah,
so,
and
yeah,
like that job can definitely push that more because it's like we have this long contest that's been around forever. Like it shouldn't be relegated to some niche little market, almost treated as an afterthought. Like, what is their big thing? I'm gonna guess they would be pushing news and pushing like sports, maybe.
yeah,
But
yeah,
like, I don't know how it is in Europe. I know in the US, a lot of sports viewership's kind of declining, and people are
it
more interested
is.
in the musical like are more interested in music.
No, they completely are. I mean, there is an opportunity here. I mean, also, if you're sitting in the room with TikTok, I mean, what are you getting out of that deal? Are they actually pushing some of the Eurovision content? I don't know. Like, are they? Because I mean, I know that they're paying for a certain degree, but then what are we getting out of that relationship? I'm just telling you, I would eat that role. I would gobble it up
But
and I would be doing it. Now, I do have a question though, just because I think I asked you, a little bit about like if you were Martin, what would you be doing?
I would not be working on Eurovision anymore. That's the first thing.
Well, really,
I
you
would have
don't
left.
have to say that. You don't have to say that just because I said it.
No, no, no. I really would have left. I really would have left. I would have been like, dang, I need to go. Like I need to go live off the royalties from my little mystery novels I've been writing. I need to go just not be anywhere where people can see me for a couple of years. I'm sure his savings account looks fine. Like if he needs to, I'm sure he can pinch the pennies necessary to
Mm,
like just find a job somewhere else for a little bit because I would have dipped.
mm.
I would be looking for something behind the scenes more than anything. And I feel
Well, I'm wondering. I mean, here's the thing. I don't think, I mean, if he's still executive supervisor and they are basically leaving him in charge of the production, and maybe we should just go on and say this too. So they're basically keeping, because I think folks might have missed this, and they're basically keeping the head of production and Krister again. I don't
okay.
know, y'all. I'm gonna just be real with y'all. Some of these initial decisions are not giving me the sense of, yeah, we gotta fix some things. And that's the part, and this is why I'm like, the art of public relations isn't art.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just is, because baby, the spin that I would be putting on them making these same non-movements to people would be artful. I
Yeah.
would be having people thinking we're making all these changes even though our staffing is remaining the same because it's an art form. I would be figuring out a way to do that. And they're not even doing that. They're not even doing
Like,
that.
I don't mind Krister. I think he knows how to put on a really good show.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Krister
like,
is right. Yeah.
shouldn't he be like enjoying his retirement at the same time though?
Krister, no, but Krister was never retiring. He was going to make it big in not the Big Apple, in Hollywood. Okay?
Oh right, he was going to do the
That
American
was
Song
what.
Contest.
Yes.
Was he also going to be
Yes.
the one doing Latin America and Canada too?
I don't know if he was going to be doing Canada and Latin America, but the American Song Contest was going to be his baby, and he was going to be graduating to such. I just, oh, I don't know. It just, again, I'm left back to this, the art of PR, because there's just a way that you could have messaged this that would have made it, I think, an easier pill to swallow. I want to shout out some folks on Twitter. So Dr. Ignatius says, I'm very, 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 that was 3 varies for y'all. Dr. Ignatius on Twitter says, I'm very, very, very disappointed. I feel absolutely betrayed because my beloved contest has been revealed as a gold mine to exploit without honesty and principles. Next year will be very vanilla or maybe a war zone with conflicts times 10. I'll be in the twilight. Another comment that I got on Twitter was from Mark, says, I'm nervous. I think things still need to be taken further, and Martin staying on doesn't make me feel confident things will change at all.
I Yeah, I would agree with some of those statements there. There really needs to be like some big changes, and we're not getting those. And it does make me nervous for what's going to be happening with 2025. And like I think I hate to doom scroll and doomer over things, but it's so hard not to. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of in this position where I'm like, do I love Eurovision? You know, like I love
Mm-hmm.
Eurovision, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, do I love it this much? Like to put up with this? It's like I feel like I'm right now in this position where I've got this crappy boyfriend who doesn't want to like put his effort into the relationship.
Mm. Mm.
And it's like I'm giving you all of this, but you're giving me nothing but disappointment.
Mm.
And I feel like that's where we're at right now with Eurovision and like these changes that are happening. Sure, it's something, but right now it just feels like lip service more than anything.
Yeah, and I'm thinking we give them time, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't do struggle love.
No,
Okay,
nor do I.
I
I'm
don't do
I'm
struggle love.
I will ghost you in a second. Like you don't buy. I'm a child of
Yeah.
divorce. I don't need that.
Well, let me say. So I got another one, which is Quackastair. These names, sorry, Quackastair. I'm gonna try and do it. I'm optimistic, and I want Eurovision to get back to being what it does best: fun, inclusive, global music competition. Ultimately, last year my experience was hurt due to failures to communicate appropriately. Looking forward to seeing the execution of real structural change, and then they followed it up. In my opinion, real structural change doesn't exclusively have to hinge on one person leaving. It can be a shift in organizational culture. And that's the thing that I was kind of trying to tell folks. I was like, there's a way that I think we can get an evolution of Eurovision. And that's why I was like, and I said this early, I was like, we need more budget. We need to look at our staffing. Perhaps we have some people in certain roles that are underemployed that need to be promoted. Perhaps we have people who are employed at high levels who are not ready for prime time, and we need to move those folks over to something more manageable for them and more in alignment with their skill sets. Because ultimately, we want Eurovision to be successful, but even if I'm coming at this as a boss, as a manager, I want my employees to be successful, and I want to make sure that they have all the tools with which they can have to be successful. And it is very obvious. And I think it's been obvious for years, the Israel of it all aside, that there were real budget constraints and, there were very small teams tasked with moving mountains, and y'all don't have to do that. And especially if you bring me on as the head of brand and development, I'll bring you more sponsors so you can get more money to pay
Yeah.
for quality people. But no, but
Yeah.
really, I do think that, yeah, you can have an organizational shift, but that's again why I lean on and I don't want to make this seem as if I'm like, I think Martin is responsible for all of this, but I do think the EBU is running on an optics issue. The
Yeah.
optics of this entire thing have been bad. And you have an investigation, you have an opportunity to shift the narrative and own and claim that narrative. And I don't see them doing it. I just don't. And perhaps we need to be more patient, and I'm fine with that. But like, they're not reclaiming the narrative with this, and this interview that Martin did was insufficient, and I think moving the needle to build back maybe the confidence that folks once had in him.
Well, my question is also this, because we have this brand kind of position coming in now. I would wonder if under that tier you'd have social media, because we have TikTok as a sponsor, but I feel like the TikTok's not being utilized properly. And like, if you look at what they had chosen to do with the TikTok page this year, what was the singing in the shower thing?
I
What was
mean,
that? It's like, I feel like I don't know what's happening, but like, they need somebody with fresh ideas in the room,
yeah.
because right now it's giving boomer.
Well, but also and I'm gonna be real. To me, it's also because I do this for a living. It's also showing the cracks in capacity. There is a lack of capacity there. So if you don't have that much time and you're given, a budget of $200, go to IKEA and figure it out. What are you going to come up with? Now, I'm going to tell you, with the job that I have now, because I work at a union and I'm spending like hardworking people's like money, like, so I'm real cheap with my stuff. I wouldn't have came up with that.
No. Like, I want to know.
You know what I mean? Like,
It feels like after Rotterdam. Like Rotterdam, I feel like social media with Eurovision was excellent. I feel like they had a great thing
no,
going,
it was right. Yeah,
and everything
it was
was
good.
working out well. And like, they've been trying to recapture that magic, but they're not doing it. I don't know if they need to call whoever was in charge of that team in Rotterdam back up.
Well, I think at that point they had a vendor. They
Okay.
had they had a vendor relationship with, I think, some digital marketing firm, Dutch based. And firms are expensive. I know that. Like vendor contracts and stuff, they're expensive. And with Eurovision and the scale of it, you're taking a lot of their capacity. But and to have them on retainer, so I know it can be really expensive. But I think the thing that continues to frustrate me as well is like, you have this base of creators already, and maybe this is just ends up sounding selfish, and so that's why I find it challenging to have these discussions, but I can frame it in the frame of the work that I do. So at some point it's like, yeah, I do digital media for a labor union. At what point do we go, we have these amazing members that are amazing spokespeople, like, why are we not just training them on social and like putting money behind their content, like building up their pieces? Like, because people want to follow people. No one wants to really follow a brand or an institution. That's just a fact. Like,
Oh yeah,
people
no,
want
like
to follow people.
I block brands all day, every day. It's
Yeah.
one of my favorite pastimes.
So the Eurovision channels are always going to be working at somewhat of a deficit because you're a brand, you're an organization. And so a thing that I feel like we've done at my job is, so we had our convention, Justin Trudeau was there, Kamala Harris was there. This is a huge scale production. And it is an international union. We had folks from Serbia. We had folks from Finland, Sweden, Switzerland. we had folks there. So we had this big march and rally. I was tasked with being in the control room for the live production of this rally. Who did we put mics on to like interview folks in the crowd? Our members. We trained them up. We gave them the microphones. We said, go up to your members, talk to them to get that program going. When we ended our march, we went to a stage where we had 4 members on the stage, workers. It is baffling to me that you basically could have free help, to blast it with folks who are already out there, who are already seasoned, and you're not harnessing that. So it sounds selfish, but I'm not saying it just for me. I'm saying this is what we've done, and it works, and people like it, and you're resonating. Because the thing is, if you lose your base, how do you grow? You gotta have your base excited, fired up. They're your ambassadors. And so, yeah, I know that one of the buckets of work that they did, or thematic, I think they called it thematic areas, was like ensuring a general audience show and broad. So what was this? Oh man, I'm like, this is not, I've got like all the different tabs open and all, and like all the different like things, but I want to call this what they called it officially. So here we go. Thematic development areas. So yeah, ensuring a general audience show and broad engagement. So this area will look at increased collaboration with fan groups, influencers, and media to build broader engagement based on ESC values and ensure that the ESC continues to be an all audience show appealing to a broad prime time. I think this is great, but let me just tell you, I haven't gotten no email. Like I haven't, Lily, have you received an email?
No, not
Did
yet.
you?
No kind of email or anything like that. All my information I'm getting from the press statements and the links that they post.
I'm just saying, if y'all are really going to say, I mean, here's the thing. You can't just print that out in words and then not follow up. Because you're going to have to talk to Wee Wee Blogs. Like,
Yeah.
bloop, bloop. You're going to have to talk. Who else is like big? I'm like, it's like Wee Wee Blogs is like the big granddaddy. You're going to have to talk to like probably folks at Extra. You're going to have to talk to the Eurovois of the world. I hope you'll give a shout out to your Eurovision fam. You don't have to. American third party not involved. But I just do think that there are some pillar people in the Eurovision community that if you're going to type that, put it in black and white writing, there will have to be some tangible follow up on that. Yeah. Like, remember when they did that announcement thing and they had like, and I tweeted this, it was when I guess they did the first, it was the allocation draw. And so they had it being hosted by, yes, some Esfatea hosts that we love, because they had, what's her name from Malmö?
I was gonna say Farah, but that's not right.
No. Yes, Farah. Yeah, but her name is
Farah,
isn't it?
I don't remember.
Yeah, Abadi.
Okay.
Farah. Yes.
Hold on.
Who hosted?
Let me investigate this.
Hold on. Y'all. It's summertime. Okay, that's all I'm saying. It's summertime.
What year is it? 2024?
It's summertime. I'm on vacation brain. I take my brain out. I take the Eurovision chunk of my brain out, and I replace it with Love Island. Okay. No, but her name is Farah, I thought.
Hold on, I'm double checking.
Okay, I could see her face. Anyway, they had those two people hosting it for a digital thing that was not even broadcasted on television.
Yep,
it was on YouTube. Okay, yeah, and it was broadcasted on YouTube. Why? Why would you not just find some actual Eurovision YouTubers and have them do it? And then when they had like the cameo of like William showing up, the lower third was like Eurovision superfan, which some people said like, oh, it might have been a joke. Well, guess what? I didn't really think it was that funny. I didn't think it was that funny. Like, William is a grown man, 40 plus. Like, can you just call him a writer? Could you call him a journalist? Like, it's like this stuff that it's like it's not landing. Yeah,
It's like a
it's
weird
not
tone.
landing. I don't
Yeah.
know. Like it didn't land. So like if it was a joke, all right. I wasn't laughing. I didn't think it was funny. But like you're having a YouTube thing, a thing that is going out online. The primary audience for this is the fan base. Why not just get some YouTubers to do it? I'm sorry, and I Eurovision YouTubers to do it. It just, to me, that's the natural thing. You have a red carpet event. Again, not broadcasted, like most places, not broadcasted on TV. It is just broadcasted online.
That turquoise carpet this year was a mess.
Oh, I didn't even watch. Well, so I couldn't. Yeah, I
Oh,
mean, being on it, you can't watch it. Oh, it
the
wasn't
hosting
good.
was bad. It was
Oh, it was bad.
bad.
See,
Yeah.
I mean, but
Like
you
it
know what
was
I mean? Like
cringy.
it just doesn't make sense. And I mean, I look at people, so just on regular like TikTok, I look at people like Cinema Joe. So this guy, Cinema Joe, he's just a TikToker, movie buff, had a podcast, has a YouTube channel. I discovered him like on TikTok. Now, like he's holding the microphones, working red carpets for some of these premieres. Makes sense. And guess what? Not that many people know who he is. So it's not even like they have to be these mega
Yeah.
influencers or stuff. You just have to have people there who are equipped, who are going to be prepared, who are going to ask thoughtful questions that your base is going to find interesting. Who better to do that than people who are already in the bubble? And I get the idea of like being an institution and not wanting to play favorites. Like I think that that's like a real thing, where you have to be thoughtful about who you give the mic to. And so I totally like that's a challenge that you have to grapple with. But also like I mean it's also the economic choice.
Yeah.
You already have these people who are going to be there already. Like I was already there. You could have passed me the mic.
Yeah, or even not even that, just a matter of like if you want to do somebody who isn't necessarily known for Eurovision, every country you go to, reaching out to maybe the most popular influencer who has a video component of their content in
Well,
each country.
Well, I hesitate on that because some of these influencers, like, they're great with their niche, but like, I don't necessarily want the makeup person like asking these folks, like they'll at that point we might as well just have like boring journalists. Like, I
Okay.
just, you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, I know what you mean, but I when I said that, I specifically was thinking of Nikki tutorials.
well, right,
Yeah,
right, but Nikki was a Eurovision fan or is a
exactly.
Eurovision
I
fan.
understand that, but like my point
Yeah,
is like reaching out to like, okay, well, let's see who is popular in this country who makes Eurovision content, and going, okay, you, like,
I
how about
agree
we
with
hire
that.
you on, or like
I
in
agree
Spain,
with
that
that.
yeah, you know what I mean, like that kind of a thing might be a good idea to go with. And if you are in a country where you don't necessarily have someone who's a popular person from your country who does that content, reaching out to somebody who's more well known internationally, maybe.
Yeah, I agree. I think that that's a thoughtful thing. I would also say lest we forget that some of these like presenters, and I'm using presenters in quotation marks, some of them did not go to like I went to school for broadcast journalism. Some of these folks didn't go to school for that. They were just on Big Brother, popular, and people like them. I.e., what Rylan, and then
Yeah.
homegirl Allison. Even though Allison, I think she did go to school for. Don't quote me on that, but I don't know. She might have been, but maybe she wasn't. Maybe she was just, a regular girl. I don't know, a mom or working in a shop or something. And then just after being on Big Brother, got these opportunities, has risen to the occasion and is an extremely like seasoned, engaging, entertaining presenter and journalist and interviewer. I would also say I think Rylan is good at it too. I just, so I think also too, I just don't want people to get consumed with the numbers and audience of it all. Because just because somebody has like a million followers on TikTok, like let's just be real. Just because someone has a million followers on TikTok does not mean that they're going to be the best person on the carpet. So I'm not saying that that's
Yeah.
just the criteria. Like it should be people who are like seasoned and professional and, fill in the blank. but I don't want influencer numbers just to mean qualified.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that like just based on numbers
I'm
alone.
not
I'm
saying
just
for
saying,
you.
yeah,
This is because we know they be listening. So I just want to make it
yeah.
real clear for y'all when you're listening and, harvesting ideas and things and
Yeah.
guidance that it's
Also,
clear.
don't forget to send your checks. Um, no, it's a matter of
Taking
like
donations, taking donations.
happily taking donations. Um, but like if you have someone who's really personable, I feel like a person who's talented at being personable can kind of rise to the occasion. And you can always give people training. You can always provide people who are passionate with the training necessary to make sure they can get the job done and have a
Yeah.
couple of backups. Like,
Yeah.
just, you know what I mean? Like, hey, we're basically using this as a quick audition process here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You didn't make the cut. We're going to go on to the next person. Like,
Yeah.
having a couple of people there and ready, I think would be a positive thing.
No, I like that. I think it makes a lot of sense. I want to go back though because basically they're having the same person in charge of head of production. And I think overall the show did run smoothly in Malmö visually for the most part. I mean, yes, we had the glitch in We Will Rave. But I don't think that that was something that was in their control, quite frankly. I think that was like a connection, broadcasting, like a technical piece. Um, so, I actually am not that mad at. I know some people were kind of like, ugh, they weren't really feeling the decision, but I thought it could have been worse. I guess that's where I'm living. I'm like, it could have been it could have been worse.
What
And
went
it
wrong?
wasn't. And it was slick. Well,
What was the
some people,
problem?
it was just to me, the only glaring thing was the Colleen, there was like a glitch in her performance where it kind of like the feed was like weird for maybe like 4 seconds, but it felt like an eternity.
Oh, I didn't
So
notice.
yeah, well, you might not have even I don't know if you got it. Like I got it on Danish TV. That's what I got. And then I would also say, I think that if I were in charge of the production when everything was bubbling up, I would have not done the "You're good to go" sketch. I
Oh
would have
God,
been like,
I would have
I would have
cut.
changed the show. I would have cut that. I would have completely cut that. I would have been like, and I'm a believer, and you should always have like an alternate skit or video because just like what happens if the broadcast goes, something really bad happens, you want to be able to press play on, some type of backup
Yeah,
thing.
not only that, but like that's just tone deaf. Like you have
It was
these
completely
people,
tone deaf.
you're
Yeah.
in this crisis. I understand you already filmed the skit or whatever, but have extra skits.
Yeah.
Like have backup. Like when I saw that was still went to broadcast, I was shocked. I'm like,
Yeah.
why would you put this out? And even that, even things not necessarily related to the contest. Let's say you have a skit, and in the skit there's a joke in it, and just so happens something occurs prior, like the day before you go live, and that skit
Hmm.
you now have is going to put a bad taste in people's mouths. Whereas if whatever event had occurred prior to, like what I mean, like something like a head of state or something like that dying, and then your skit you make a joke kind of like related
Yeah.
to that, had just having another skit as a backup in that situation.
No, they totally should.
Yeah,
But this is also another revealing of the lack of preparedness. I think on
yeah,
some folks' part. There should have been an alternate. Again, I was running a live broadcast, much smaller scale, but for like our March and our program, I had interviews in the can. We had B-roll that I created ahead of time. So that if like something goes down, like press play on that B-roll that lasts. Like you gotta have alternate things and you have to be able to have some flexibility built in for the potentially tone deaf or thing. I mean, like it's like the same thing of I remember one time, oh my goodness, I think it was like the Grammys and I think there was going to be some performance and there was like a school shooting. I think like
yeah.
and so people shifted. I remember
When Whitney
the
Houston
Grammys.
died at
Let
the
me
Grammys,
huh?
when the year Whitney Houston passed away,
Yeah,
the night before.
Whitney. So then they had to do like I would even say Kobe. Like
Yeah.
literally, like there were things that happen where then you have to instantly like go into like and create quickly. And I will definitely say I am fully confident that I'm confident in the thought or in the thinking that this team that they had last year and probably previous years did not have the capabilities or the capacity to be able to put together things like that, to withstand like a situation like that. And I think this attitude of just like, no, we'll just run like business as usual. We do not live in this world. We are living in anomaly times. There is far too much uncertainty for you to be like operating in any, I think in any industry, business as such,
Yeah,
business as
exactly.
usual, because this is
Exactly.
not usual like times, and particularly if you're going to be on an international scale, you just, the role calls you to do better. You just have to do better.
Is just life too good in Sweden for them to have like an idea of what to do in a situation when we have a mild crisis? Like, do they need to
Maybe.
hire some people from somewhere that like are
Yes.
putting out fires 24/7? Like, I don't know.
We need to get some Ukrainians in the building, okay?
Th-
We need to
That
get,
let's
because
talk about
I'll
that.
tell,
Yeah.
well, because I'll tell you, Ukrainians, they'll put a show on. They'll put a show
Yeah.
on, and you'll have no clue that it was.
Yeah.
We need to get some of them in there. Low key, some of these Balkan countries, quiet as it's kept. That's another thing that I feel like is interesting that didn't come out of this investigation, but the representation of the body. I mean, when
Yeah.
you look at like, what is it, the reference group?
It's
There's
all Western
literally
Europeans.
literally I was shocked when I saw
Yeah.
that. Like when I saw that, I was like, wait, hold on, this can't be right. I was like, there have to be some people. Like, I remember looking at the list and being like, there has to be someone missing. And no shade to the people who are occupying the spaces, but with love, like, there should be, I'm going to say it, there should be quotas. Yeah.
Yeah.
There should be
Honestly,
quotas for
especially
adequate representation. Like, there should be. Like, please.
especially given like the history of kind of Western Europe being what people think of when they think of Europe,
Yeah.
and not
Yeah.
necessarily including Eastern Europe with that, or
Yeah.
Eastern Europe being an afterthought. You should have more Eastern Europeans on the team.
Period. I
Also,
mean, that's strange to me.
they're used to working with a more constrained budget as well, I feel like. So like there's
Preach
a
on it.
necessity of creativity that you
Mm-hmm.
get out of those like countries and who could be staffing the contest from those countries. Like that reference group, I need to
Yeah.
see. Like, I think quotas would be a big happy, not a big happy with would be a big positive change.
Yeah.
Also, like, I know there were some people floating around the idea of like replacing Martin with somebody from like Ukraine or something. Like, just because
Um,
I know that was like something people were saying. I'm like, I could see that would be a positive change as well, but we need at least more Eastern Europeans on that
yeah.
reference group and more Eastern Europeans listed on these like positions of power. Because even when they announced the new people working, I'm looking at the names. I'm seeing mostly Western European names.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, let's do a quick run through because the core team is together. Now, we don't know where Eurovision is going to be. I know Zurich submitted their bid. I think Basel did. Geneva did. So obviously we don't know where Eurovision is going to be, but let's break this down. So at the top of the food chain, the head of show, we've got Eves, um, who was also Switzerland's head of delegation at Eurovision this year. So shout out to you. So taking on the role of head of show. And so basically that means he's going to be responsible for creating and like, kind of brainstorming, putting together the content for all of the shows. So figuring out, who the presenters are going to be, our interval acts, like the flag parade, postcards, how we're going to do the voting and stuff like that. So I think that'll be, I think that'll be cute. I think that'll be really cute. So big ups to you, Eves. You made it. Krister, as we talked about earlier, is going to be head of contest. And so, the one thing that I will say is good about that is then, well, at least Krister will be doing the producer's pick, which I trust Krister more than I think
Anyone
anybody
else?
else.
Yeah. Like I said that when we saw producers pick on them as a change, I'm like, I trust Krister. No one else
Yeah.
do I trust with that job.
Nobody else. Nobody else. Now, that does not mean that he is infallible, but of anybody,
His
Bjorkman,
main concern
take it
is putting on
away.
a good show. His main,
Yeah.
yeah.
But Krister, I think the thing about Krister is, and I've said this about him before, when you meet these like football coaches where they're like, oh, he's a player's coach, that's Krister. He really is like an artist coach. Like, I think he's really thoughtful about the actual performers on stage
I mean, like,
and like how to
he's one of
make
the
them
few.
comfortable. Yeah.
He's also one of the few ones who's done Eurovision. Like
Well,
he's
yeah,
competed.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, granted, when he competed, it was a much smaller contest, but I think that's experience that is gonna only be a positive.
No, it's definitely a positive, and I mean, just what he was able to do with Melody Festival, and I mean, it's it's admirable. The man knows what he's doing. No shade, Krister. Bloop bloop. We rooting for you. Okay, then we have Bernhard, who has had an impressive career as an event organizer. Okay, he's been head of events at Farner Emotions. I don't know what that is. And then global head of event marketing with Red Bull. Cute. Okay, so that's cool. Red Bull does things. Head of experience
Yeah,
and festival on the International Olympic Committee. That's cool.
yeah,
So yeah, so I'm cool with that. I'm like, Bernhard, the resume seems good, but let's see it in execution. Then
yeah.
we have Manfred Wins, who's going to be Deputy Chief Procurement Officer. Okay. And so yeah. Okay, okay. And previously I guess was head of finance, or what are they saying? Um
I think
no,
I'm
no,
with
no,
you
no.
100%.
He's gonna be Manfred's gonna be head of finance. I'm cool with that. I can trust some Swiss people with managing some funds, so we can rest easy with that. And then we have Tobias, who's gonna be in charge of the production and was also in charge of the production in Malmö. I'm just sort of, again, I feel sort of okay with that because I do think so. Head of production is going to be he's responsible for the technical team, the stage construction, the infrastructure, the IT of it all.
He's
I think
like
I'm okay with that.
he's the one that kind of hypes up the crowd right before the show. Or am I thinking of somebody else?
Um
Like
no,
kind of
no,
comes
no,
out and goes,
no.
"Oh, we're gonna."
No, no, no. Yeah, no. This guy's different. This
Okay,
isn't that this isn't that guy.
okay.
Um Even though that guy will probably be there though.
Again,
Um
I'm just trying to think of like who,
yeah,
if I
yeah.
recognized his face or something. You know what I mean?
But I will tell you, I mean, I loved the stage in Malmö. I thought
Oh,
it
it was
looked
great.
good. I thought it was optimal, especially the people who utilized the stage to its fullest. Like, it was optimized. Okay, and then we got Nadia. So this is the first woman. We had a man. I think another man. I don't know. Manfred could be. No, hold on. Let me see. Manfred might I could see that being a woman. I don't know. No, no, it's a man. So we have our first woman coming up here to the stage. So Nadia has worked for many years with the European Broadcasting Union as event supervisor for Eurovision. And so she's the special event manager for Concours Hippique International in Geneva. I don't know what that is, but she is the co-founder of Cozy Kitchen, which I don't know what that is, but I'm gonna Google it and look at it because I like
Sounds
eating
cute.
and yeah, it sounds really cute. So as head of event, she'll be the primary point of contact for the host city. So okay, Nadia. Then we got another lady. So we got Aurora. Yeah, Aurora is a security expert. Okay, Aurora. She's been the Global Health, Safety, and Security Director at the Norwegian Refugee Council. Oh, she was also the risk manager. Okay, she the resume is looking good.
Yes, it's
So currently she's the business continuity manager and crisis manager at RTS. So she'll be head of security. Okay, Aurora, this is a big undertaking, but I'm rooting for you, girl. I'm rooting for you. So then we got Kevin Stuber, who is going to be head of legal, and he's a lawyer. Kevin, I hope you got a good team. Cause
especially after this year.
after this year, I mean,
You
Kevin, I
know,
hope you got a whole bunch of counsel.
Prior to
Um,
2024, I never thought about lawyers for Eurovision,
come
but
on now.
yeah.
Okay. And then we got Thomas, who's in charge of marketing and funding. Okay. And then we got Vasilis, who's going to be our HR person. Ooh, Vasilis.
Tough job, Facilis. Tough job,
Hmm.
especially after 2024.
I don't know. And this resume ain't resumeing from what I'm looking at this little paragraph, but I'm gonna have some faith in you because ooh child. Okay, so then next up we have Nicole is a public affairs specialist and she's gonna be the head of public affairs. Okay, girl. Um, and then we got Henriette,
Yep.
or is it Henrietta? No, I
I
think it's
think it's
Henriette.
Henriette Ingberson.
Yes. So she's responsible for public value. Then we got Till Gendley. So she's going to be the assistant. So she's okay. And then, ooh, oh no, we might, you know what? I'm going to leave y'all on a cliffhanger. I'm going to leave y'all on a cliffhanger
Oh no.
because at the end of this article, ooh, ooh. Well, that's the breakdown. I don't know. To leave y'all with something, like, honestly, I am mostly optimistic. I am. Like, I think that this is a great first step. I am really, really curious to see who they occupy some of these other roles with. I'm really curious how they decide to tackle their communications team and the organization of their full communications team. I'm really curious about that. And I mean, quite frankly, I'm a little bit worried for Eurovision next year. Like, I'm just going to leave you with one worry. This year was so quality in terms of the music. So good. And I'm like, with all these artists coming out here saying they had a bad experience, is everyone just going to forget about it because they've got the platform of Eurovision so they'll throw their hat in the ring? Or are some people going to go, "Oh, I don't need to be involved with that mess." That's what I'm going to leave y'all with. Lily, what's
No, for
your
real. No, for real. That is my biggest worry going into 2025 because 2024 was such a high quality year. We saw an artist get completely. We saw multiple artists be frankly disrespected by the EBU, given circumstances that we saw occur. We saw people who are artists being harassed by other delegations. If I was an artist who has any kind of interesting creativity to me that's not mainstream, I'd be looking at Eurovision and I would not be interested in doing it. Even though it's a massive platform. And so I do have a fear. I know right now different delegations have opened up their process of choosing their songs. And I'd be real curious if we're seeing numbers going down from certain countries, just given what occurred.
Yeah, I just it's going to be interesting what happens. I'm going to leave y'all with some other words from Twitter. So, Dum Dum ESC Turdam says, incredibly disappointed. Seems like nothing of actual substance will change for the better. If anything, they're introducing more bureaucracy and patting themselves on the back for doing so. Same SHIT, different year. The next comment I have is from ESC Rage. I'm relieved they didn't use Martin as a scapegoat. Fire him and leave everyone else unscathed. It's all well and good to announce new roles, but it's all about who fills them. Funny they've invented 5 new jobs just so they can say they didn't demote Martin. Elliot says the fact that Martin didn't even step down is alarming. After this, he surely is going to think he is untouchable and makes me somewhat concerned um, of his overlook on, or maybe his oversight on Eurovision and the welfare of the acts and the contest as a whole moving forward. Well, this is the Eurovision for Real podcast. I am so thankful for you listening. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, follow this podcast because I left y'all on a cliffhanger and I'm going to come back with something good. I want to thank Lily from EurovisionFam.com for joining me, and I'm going to play us out.
Eurovision for real with Alesia Michelle.